For the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be taking my time to University of Texas.
There it is. It's the Texas Longhorns for James Simon as the powder falls down. Welcome into the Inside Scoop. We are live from the rooftop of the W Hotel in Nashville. Now, of course, I'm your host, Josh Newberg. I'm with Steve Wiltfong, and we are at the On3 Elite Series. As you saw with the Open, James Simon, just about an hour ago from the table that me and Steve are sitting at, he announced for the Texas Longhorns. So we decided, with such a beautiful, picturesque scene behind us, why not do the show from the rooftop of the W Hotel? So me and Steve are here. We're going to get into it all. A lot of developments coming out of this thing. But before we get going, make sure you guys hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We talk recruiting all year round. Nobody does it better on YouTube than us. We're going to get going. So Steve, welcome to Nashville. It's great. We're not doing this thing remote.
No, listen, that James Simon announcement was awesome. Confetti everywhere. You still got a little bit on you.
I know. I'm wearing it.
Texas, major pickup for them. They're going to be one of the teams of the summer, Josh. I think so. And we're getting that sense talking to the best prospects here in Nashville, in the country, that are in town for the On3 Elite Series. And they get one of their top running backs in the country. They targeted a few guys, Harlem Berry, Jordan Davison. But James Simon, they beat Notre Dame. They beat Texas A&M. They beat some others.
LSU was a hat on the table. Alabama was a hat on the table.
Yep, top 10 running back in the country, a guy that's rushed for over 3,200 yards and 46 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. They like I hear comparisons to Jonathan Brooks. There's a standard in that Texas running back room, Josh. We talked about it. The last 2 NFL drafts, the number 1 player at the position selected played for Coach Choice and Coach Sarkisian in Austin, Jonathan Brooks, Bijan Robinson. Don't forget about Roschon Johnson there, who's playing for the Bears. And then, look, Tashard Choice, Coach Jahmyr Gibbs, too. So that pedigree, him coming to Texas for the Longhorn spring game and getting that atmosphere, that pageantry, I think that was also an inch that helped Texas win that recruitment. And the Longhorns are going to push for a top 5 class. They got their backfield, KJ Lacey and James Simon, and we'll see where they go from here.
Yep, we're going to talk more Texas in a minute, but James Simon was the 10th commitment for this Texas class that Steve, we're going to get into it on some of the intel that we got out of here. He is not going to be the last commitment of the summer for the Texas Longhorns. Let's start the day. Let's start our show talking little quarterbacks. I have my notes here on a bar napkin. It's going to be great, but we'll start at the top. We'll start with JuJu Lewis. Now, he arrived from Carrollton, Georgia yesterday, and we all got to talk to him. Julian Lewis, what was your impressions of him on the day?
Well, I've spent a lot of time with him and his father this week here in Nashville, and it's a recruitment where I kind of go back and forth on where I think this thing's going to land, whether he sticks, flips, who could he potentially flip to. You know, he sees what he knows USC's a place where he can go maximize his ability.
And to that point, I think the things that he feels he can maximize himself at, with exposure, with engagement, with all these things, you can really only find in LA. So it's more than, and I don't want to, this isn't a slight to USC Trojan fans, but it's more than just the school. It's the city. It's everything. He loves it.
And he knows if you start for Lincoln Riley, you're going to win the Heisman Trophy. You're going to be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. It is the biggest guarantee in college football. If you are at the top of Lincoln Riley's depth chart, you're going to get everything that you want in life. And that was kind of, his dad, we were talking a little rankings, and he's not our number 1 ranked quarterback in the country, but he is number 1 on Lincoln Riley's board, and he always was. And when Julian was in the 2026 class, there were some 2025 quarterbacks that wanted to visit USC that are extremely high profile. Lincoln Riley said, don't come. I'm recruiting one guy. He's in 26, but I know he's going to be in 25. And I got the guy I want, and it's Julian Lewis. So Lincoln Riley and USC, they're fully invested. Go where you're wanted. Now, Julian Lewis is wanted in a lot of places. So there was a time where, look, anytime anyone makes a major life decision, it ebbs and flows, man. And so you sit here, it's funny, like we'll be out here saying, well, so-and-so leads for C.J. Wiley right now. Now so-and-so leads for C.J. Wiley. And the readers will say, some of the readers say, you're doing that for clicks or whatever, but you literally changed your mind 3 times on what you were going to have for dinner at home, let alone making a life decision. I mean, when you buy a car, when you buy a house, when you decide if you're going to take a job, when you decided to go to school and sports weren't impacted, you still probably went back and forth on it. So these young men got a lot to balance. Never mind the fact that Julian Lewis is talking to Lincoln Riley. He's talking to Hugh Freeze. He's talking to Deion Sanders. These guys didn't get their jobs by accident. They're charismatic. They're persuasive. They got a lot of things they can point to for why you can be successful. So it is a lot when you make these decisions. USC, obviously not close to home. Yeah. So he has to decide for real, like when it's time, am I good to go? Is my support system going? Like what are we doing? So I think that's an element. But I got the sense talking to Julian this week and talking to his dad, and I felt this way when he visited USC. So again, I go back and forth on his latest visit to USC, and I talked to some people around the USC program. This is the best we've felt about it in a while. So it's not like they're out there at USC thinking that this thing's a lock. You know what I mean? But hey, they've invested this much time. This is the guy they love. This is the guy they want to sign, and I think that they could sign him still. Now, but there is people around these other programs that think that there's no way that's happening. All right.
We'll see.
And so Auburn, you heard there's Auburn buzz that this is the guy they want to build it around. And Julian's pointed to the way they've recruited receivers, explosive players. It was as good a receiver class as anyone signed last cycle. And then Colorado, the chance to walk in and start, play for Deion Sanders under those lights. I mean, the opportunity to get that much exposure playing for Colorado as the starting quarterback for Deion Sanders as a former 5-star recruit.
It appeals to him.
It's appealing. And then he's visiting Indiana this weekend. Yeah. And I don't think he's going to go to Indiana, but his best relationships with Tino Sunseri. And Curt Cignetti is a baller, man. He is going to go on this visit. That's Indiana's head coach, for most of you that probably don't know that. He was the head coach at James Madison. He's been on the Nick Saban coaching tree. He's won way more games than he's lost. He's had good offenses. Mike Shanahan is the offensive coordinator, not the NFL Mike Shanahan, but former Pitt receiver Mike Shanahan. And then you got Tino Sunseri. There's a lot of NFL pedigree in that room. Football pedigree in that room. He's going to learn a lot on that visit, and who knows where recruiting takes you. Maybe the Hoosiers will shock the world. But USC, I feel all right about it, but they still got their hands full, and they know it.
Yeah, I feel much better about USC after talking to Julian himself. I also found out that Julian does plan to shut down his recruitment. I thought that was interesting because, and I think he should. I think he should shut down his recruitment because he's one of the most recognizable names in America. And until Julian Lewis really shuts down his recruitment, he can't build a recruiting class around him. When Julian Lewis, and I know he can, I know he can talk to other recruits, but if he's still out there taking visits, you know how that looks. And I think what's going to happen, or not I think, Julian Lewis told me that at some point in July, he is indeed going to shut it down and let these other teams know no more visits. He's sticking with USC or, he's doing something crazy.
Absolutely.
But I feel better about where USC sits after talking to Julian Lewis.
I agree with that.
All right. Let's move on. And we're going to talk about another quarterback that we talk about on this show all the time, and that's Keelon Russell out of Duncanville in Texas. And he has been committed to SMU for some time. Steve's put the SMU cape on many a segments and gone to bat for the Mustangs and their chances on holding on to Keelon Russell. We had a chance to talk to him this morning. What's your takeaway after talking to Russell one-on-one?
Well, they got their hands full with hanging on to Keelon Russell, too, and that's going to come as no surprise to Rhett Lashley and his staff. They know what they're up against, but they also have a lot to sell, and we've talked about it on this show. And Mr. Russell, Keelon Russell, said it this morning. He said, they're building a masterpiece for me there. He's a local quarterback. He's arguably the best dual-threat passer in the country. Won a state championship at Duncanville, which means you could pick Duncanville up and put them in any state in the country and could maybe win a state championship. Arguably the best high school coaching, best high school competition in America. He plays against it, and he absolutely thrived. SMU, top 20 offense in the country, number 16, top 20 defense in the country last year, number 12. They finished ranked top 25 nationally. Now they're in the ACC. You have a chance to play in the college football playoff. There is a lot of investment in this SMU program right now. We're at an NIL series.
You can feel it. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They're landing transfers, they're landing high school recruits, and they are on our radar, whereas a couple years ago, the SMU recruiting just wasn't on our radar.
But this is a guy that's also fielding calls from the best of the best. I mean, you got Kalen DeBoer, Alabama. They went out in the spring evaluation period and went out and looked at all the quarterbacks in the country, guys committed to high-profile programs, and Keelon Russell has become QB1 for them. Now, I do think that there was a time before spring if Julian Lewis would have called and said, hey, I'm coming under these circumstances, Kalen DeBoer would have said, come on, we got our QB.
But the QB dominoes, they fall, you know.
So that didn't happen. Keelon Russell's the top target for Alabama right now. He's going to take his official visit this weekend, and he is uber excited about that. He's had some really good conversations with Nick Sheridan, their offensive coordinator, where they've broken down film and talked X's and O's, and he feels like he's really clicked with Nick Sheridan. He likes what they did with Michael Penix, obviously, and Kalen DeBoer and his track record.
A lot of quarterbacks like that.
Yeah. So, and just Alabama and what Alabama means. That's going to be a big visit. I've been on this show. I've been all over the board with Keelon Russell. I mean, There was a time where I thought Ole Miss was the one to watch. I don't think so. I think you got SMU, and he's got these upcoming visits: Alabama, Florida, and Oregon. And Oregon's a newly scheduled visit for the 21st. Florida's the 7th. Bama's this weekend.
Who are you watching?
SMU's got to get through these 3 visits. Alabama is probably the one that I would point to first and say, that's scary.
Yeah.
Like, they're probably the school that I would mark as the biggest threat. They survived that. He wants to go to Florida.
What a gauntlet he's running here.
He goes to Florida, and Florida was on him early. He visited there earlier this year.
Yeah, he
likes Billy Napier. Coach O'Hara is always sending him little drills to do to improve his game. So him and Coach O'Hara have a good chemistry, Ryan O'Hara, and he wants to go up there and see why DJ Lagway had such a great spring. He credits the coaching staff there at Florida with their quick development of DJ Lagway. So that's going to be an element in the Florida visit. And then you got Oregon, and Oregon is
the newest offer.
They are inside Duncanville.
And they're the newest offer.
Right. Head coach, Coach Samples. Oregon running back coach, Coach Samples. They're related.
Now Oregon has a QB commit.
Yes, they do. But
the other teams do not.
I know, but Oregon wants to take 2.
True.
And I also know this. Keelon Russell was on another major college campus earlier in his process and said, I don't care if you get this quarterback. I still would be interested in coming here. I don't care who's in the room. Keelon Russell's an alpha. He's a leader of men. He's a leader of that Duncanville football team. And he knows that at these places there's going to be competition. So Oregon wants to take 2 high school quarterbacks. Josh, we've talked about it before, but if you haven't liked and subscribed, hit like and subscribe and tune into our shows. Oregon's crushed the transfer portal at quarterback. No one's done a better job, from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel to Dante Moore. But that's not where Dan Lanning wants to live. That's not where Will Stein wants to live, offensive coordinator who's also got a lot of connections in the state of Texas from UTSA. And then certainly what they did with Bo Nix, which Keelon Russell pointed to that. They want to home grow their next quarterback. Austin Novosad's doing a good job for them. He's a sophomore. Achilles Smith Jr. is coming in. He's here.
Yeah, he's here.
He's recruiting his tail off for the Ducks. His dad's floating around, Oregon legend. We got a lot of people here.
We do have a lot of people.
But Oregon's a team to watch too. SMU, it's going to be a 3-week stretch. And you know what? They got a lot to offer too, so we'll see what happens.
If SMU can survive this 3-week stretch, they deserve to land Keelon Russell without a doubt. Well, but they've been doing a great job with him. I don't mean that. All right, let's run through a couple more committed quarterbacks real quick. Bryce Underwood.
Locked in, ready to go. Said everybody's given up. He's not talking to any other programs, but he is talking to other recruits. My man, he came in with his On3 Elite chain, came in with his LSU chain, and he's ready to recruit. You know, he talked about Jaime Ffrench. Talked about DJ Pickett. Talked about DeCorian Moore, obviously. Who else was he? You know, he didn't mention CJ.
They got Jamie Ffrench involved.
He didn't mention CJ Wiley, but CJ Wiley is a major target for LSU. LSU lost DeCorian Moore, but this program isn't going to fold up. They develop receivers every year. Them and Ohio State are the first programs you kind of think of. Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma was one of them, but LSU's still in on some great receiver prospects. Bryce Underwood's a guy that these guys would want to play with, and Bryce Underwood's here to recruit. He's here to be the leader of the class. He's excited about what he saw at the spring game. He was there, saw Nussmeier play well, Ricky Collins play well, Colin Hurley play well, so he's excited about their development and envisions himself being the best player possible under Brian Kelly and his Michigan ties, and then Joe Sloan, who's obviously the lead recruiter. There's not a better pound-for-pound recruiter in the country than Joe Sloan. He's already ripping and roaring in 26, and They're getting a standard in their room. We talked about the Texas running back standard. I mean, Jaden Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner, Nussmeier, he's got a lot of swagger. He was playing behind the Heisman Trophy winner and probably thought he was the best quarterback on the roster. So I'm excited to watch him take the baton this year. He played great in the bowl game. I think that he's going to be great under center. And then Underwood will come in there and compete with those other guys next year. And he's helping recruit right now. They're the number 2 class in the country, and it'll be exciting to watch them finish.
All right, let's move on from 5-star Bryce Underwood to newly minted 5-star quarterback Matt Zollers. Matt Zollers got his 5th star on the On3 industry rankings earlier today when the new rankings were updated throughout the industry, and he is now a 5-star Mizzou commitment. Locked into Mizzou? How do you feel after talking to him?
I think he's locked into Mizzou now. Pitt and Penn State will certainly keep giving him a buzz.
Yeah, he said he's still talking to other schools, but there is 0 visits set with anybody else right now for Zollers.
His brother is a walk-on defensive lineman at Pitt. Penn State, they're not going to go away on Matt Zollers.
I can't imagine they will.
Dries, but he's good to go with Mizzou. He's going to visit there in a couple weeks. I talked to him today. We're going to have more on the Wiltfong Whip Around tomorrow on this channel. Hit like and subscribe. We won't have this ambiance for the Whip Around. We'll be in the On3 studio. But Missouri, they're hosting some of the best offensive tackles in the country this weekend. And he's locked in on trying to get some of them dudes to join the fold.
Can't blame him.
I think he feels good about Lamont Rogers. I think Missouri's a sleeper for Lamont Rogers. Very much a very realistic contender for him.
Yeah.
They're swinging at Babalola. Fasusi, who walked in here today, he looks great.
Looking.
KJ Lacey, he walked by. KJ Lacey and I was like, I think Texas got a good chance. He goes, we're getting them.
All right, let's talk about KJ Lacey. I mean, coming into this event, we all thought he's solid to Texas. You spoke to him today about a couple hours ago. What was his message to you?
Same thing we've been saying. I think KJ Lacey's solid to Texas, and that's why they haven't offered another quarterback. Every once in a while you'll ask me, Steve, do you think that they're going to offer Keelon Russell? And I say no, because I think that they like KJ Lacey. He's a 2-time state champ. He's a great leader, great young man, committed to Texas early. Him and A.J. Milwee, him and Coach Sark, they all have a great rapport. He gets to campus as much as he can. Now, certainly, look, he talks to other schools too, but I think he's locked in with Texas. And, again, he's doing his thing here with some of these major targets.
Yeah, he's out here recruiting, and that's good to see if you're a Texas fan. One more quarterback we want to hit on, and that's Deuce Knight, committed to Notre Dame. And the big question has been, is Deuce Knight going to take any official visits? What did he say to you when you talked to him?
Well, he's going to Notre Dame from here.
We know that,
And then he's got his official visit to Notre Dame. So he's got 2 more trips up there. I'm not too worried about the Irish holding on to Deuce Knight right now, but I do think that he's keeping some schools warm. Ole Miss is one where you're looking at them. And Ole Miss is interesting because they're in the Keelon Russell sweepstakes. They got an official visit, but I think they're fading there. KJ Lacey's someone that they're also trying to keep warm. But Deuce Knight, someone they could turn it up on. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of senior season Deuce Knight has. He obviously had a junior year where he came to Nashville or came to Tennessee, Baylor School, and that didn't work out. So he went back to Mississippi. So if he has an electric senior year, who knows where some of these regionally based programs and what they try to do with Deuce Knight. But in the meantime, Notre Dame's fully invested there. They love him. They see a guy that could be one of the most dangerous dual-threat quarterbacks in the country. He likes Gino Gadugli, Marcus Freeman. He loves the offensive line class Notre Dame's putting together.
Yeah,
Will Black's walking around here, him and his 4.5 shuttle as one of the most massive humans here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Notre Dame's a program right on the cusp. He thinks he can maybe help them win that extra game or 2 at the end of the season, and I still like Notre Dame to hang on to him right now.
All right, we're going to shift gears now. If we miss any quarterback talk, we'll pick it up on the Wiltfong Whip Arounds. Hit like and subscribe. All right, let's talk new picks on the recruiting prediction machine. Steve, you put in 4 big ones since you've been here, and we'll start with Jaime Ffrench to Texas.
Yes, Jaime Ffrench is, and I'm slow on the answer because this should say Khalil Lockett.
Oh, my bad.
No, it's all good.
Well, we didn't get there yet.
We're not, but I didn't want you to say the wrong name.
Okay.
So Jaime Ffrench, this is how Josh used to write down his phone numbers back in the day, mind you. But Jaime Ffrench, Texas is the leader right now, but Josh, we've talked about it. This is a recruitment that's had some ebbs and flows. There's no question Texas is the leader. He said as much, had a great visit there this spring.
But it was hard to believe it because he went on a bunch of visits in the spring, and coming off of every visit, it felt like there was a new leader. So I think that we all had to kind of let this breathe a little bit and see if it still stood. And you felt good about it.
Well, he's been committed to Alabama.
Yep.
Then Ohio State led in the spring. Texas leads now, but LSU's a visit this weekend, and they're in the 2-hole. And they could move up to 1.
They could.
So, look, and I'm not afraid to change my RPM if I feel like the pulse has changed. But it's on Texas. They lead. He said as much. But they got their hands full getting that thing home.
Okay. We'll go to the other wide receiver in Texas that's a 5-star, Khalil Lockett. You put in a new pick for Khalil Lockett to Texas. I was a little surprised by that because I had been penciling him in before this event to LSU. It made sense. And you had him at A&M.
Both wrong.
Both wrong.
Or at least I perceive us to be wrong.
So why did you put in the Texas pick?
And he could still ultimately end up at LSU or A&M. But talking to Khalil and talking to people with knowledge of that recruitment, I think Texas is setting the tone right now in that one. I'm comfortable putting in that RPM.
Right.
And it's not just about what Sarkisian has done as a coach, and Khalil pointed towards him coaching Devontae Smith and Jerry Jeudy and Jaden Waddle and having an offense that schemes those guys open. But him and his dad just love the culture of that Texas program. They just gives them a good feeling when they're in that facility around those players. And he just feels like that's an atmosphere that he could live in and thrive. So Texas leads, but LSU at one point did lead.
Yep.
So you were right
sure.
at one point.
And then with the Decorian Moore decommitment, you thought that, hey, maybe they freed up a little room there for him, and it made a lot of sense. But when you talk to him, you kind of find out.
And A&M's way in that one. He was going to visit USC, put A&M back in after visiting them again this spring. He's been there a couple times in the Elko era already, so don't sleep on the Aggies for Khalil Lockett as well. But if today were signing day, I think he would put his John Hancock on paper for the Longhorns.
Okay. Then the next pick I want to talk about is going to fire up Florida State fans because it comes at a major position of need for the Seminoles, and that's linebacker, because you put in a pick for Tavian Wallace, borderline 5-star prospect out here, to be a Florida State Seminole. What led to that prediction?
Well, I think that's the team to beat right now. I think that they've invested the most time. He's got the best relationship with their coaching staff and likes where that program's headed and is fit within that. But they're not in the barn.
No, they got some competition.
He said Florida's his number 2, but I'm actually keeping a close eye on Georgia. This is the guy that Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart really want. They're going to get him on an official visit. And I've talked to some sources that say, hey, he wants to get drafted higher than his brother. That's one of his goals. His brother just went in the 3rd round out of Kentucky.
Linebacker out of Kentucky.
So Georgia's going to say, look, man, who's putting out first-round linebackers more than us? So we'll see. These officials are going to be exciting.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't sleep on the Florida Gators. He grew up a Gator fan. I asked why, how being in South Georgia. He said, oh, well, my dad was a Gator fan, so I was a Gator fan. And, hey, all it takes is one great visit. We know that. So, but it looks like Florida State has the edge heading into the summer for Tavian Wallace. Really good prospect. One of the best looking linebackers that walk through the halls here at the On3 Elite Series.
There's no question he can play sideline to sideline.
All right. Last pick we want to talk about. Out of North Carolina, one of the top uncommitted DBs in America, safety Jadon Blair, walked in at a full 6'4". Really rangy-looking prospect at safety. Jadon Blair, it's going to come down to Penn State, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, South Carolina?
Sort of.
Something in that realm.
I like Notre Dame. I think Michigan and Penn State are the biggest challenges.
Michigan, yep, there it is.
There's some good-looking kids here. Jadon Blair would be one of the first guys you'd send off the bus. His dad played defensive line at East Carolina. His mom was a 3-sport star on the high school level, volleyball, basketball, and track. Or maybe it was softball. I don't know. Maybe she dominated that too. So the genetics are strong there.
Great family of athletes.
He's a very mature young man that's college ready right now. And I think Notre Dame's setting the bar in that recruitment. He said as much. That's not me reading between the lines.
Right.
So, he'll get back there for an official visit. They love the way Marcus Freeman is building up the program. They love the way he's leading this program. But for Marcus Freeman on down to Chad Bowden, their off-field recruiting ace, he's got a great rapport with a lot of guys on that staff. These official visits for Jadon Blair is going to be big on how do I fit in with the players. He really wants to get around the players on the team and see who he has the most chemistry with. So Notre Dame players, don't blow it, because right now you guys lead for Jadon Blair. going into these visits. He's at South Carolina this weekend.
Yeah.
But Michigan and Penn State are the ones that I think are the biggest challengers to the Irish.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so those are your 4 picks so far that you've put in. Anything else we'll cover tomorrow on the Wiltfong Whip Around. I want to wrap up this little segment with what we learned, maybe a couple things here and there. And, of course, there's so much that we learned. A lot of it is going to come out in his writing all week on the On3 Network. Go check that out. All his articles are phenomenal. But let's just – want me to start it?
No, I got one.
Okay, go ahead. What you learned.
Right off the bat, I learned that Ohio State's still a major player for Dorian Brew.
Yes.
I think that the 5-star On3 Industry 5-star corner from Conroe, Texas, we were looking at USC is definitely one of his favorites, if not the favorite right now. But I think we looked at LSU and Texas as the biggest challengers. Mm-hmm. And I actually think, talking to him, talking to his dad, USC and Ohio State are very well positioned. That's not to say that LSU isn't. He's at LSU this weekend. His dad ran track at LSU. LSU could win that recruitment. Mm-hmm. It's a 5-star weekend at LSU. More on the Whip Around tomorrow, so hit like and subscribe. But Ohio State's got the number 1 class in the country. Dorian Brew, someone that they could close in there.
All right. I learned, I'll take a little bit more of an overview approach. I learned that there is no such thing as a package deal. I know we put out a lot of writing about is DeCorian Moore and Jaime Ffrench and Khalil Lockett going to team up on the next level. Maybe, but it's not a package deal. And you know that because once you get around these recruits and their families, they have so much going on in their own atmosphere and so many things that factor into their decision that there's no way that any of these elite prospects are making a decision because somebody else is. Like, they're all making their own decision. So, yes, Texas might do great and land 2 or 3 of these guys, but it's not a package deal by any means. It's because Texas went out and individually recruited each guy to the fullest and made that their best fit. But there is no such thing as package deals. That's what I learned.
Khalil Lockett not scared to be playing alongside guys like Jaime Ffrench and Corey Moore if it works out that way. I'll say the other thing I learned this weekend, these prospects are here learning a lot of information about NIL, and they're hearing guys like Jeremy Sexton talk to them about investing themselves and thinking long-term over short-term. And
Ronnie Brown's here from Morgan Stanley.
Ronnie
Brown.
Wildcat Ronnie Brown, first-round pick from Auburn. And Shannon Terry, CEO, founder
absolutely.
of On3, talking to these kids. NIL is very relevant in all these young men's recruitment, and so there is going to be a bottom line at the end of the day for all the decisions that these guys are making. But I think the thing that everyone of power that has spoken here that's been uber successful as a businessman or agent is telling these kids, and I think the response that I've noticed from these kids is like they're not just for sale.
Right. You cannot be bought. That was one of the messages that was conveyed to them.
So while there are probably some kids in the country that are for sale, I don't know if there's many of them here. And most of these guys are going to make their decision on the player development because Shannon Terry pulled up a stat of what NFL contracts look like, and the graph went up here compared to college NIL contracts. Yeah. And those also had 7 figures, but they were a lot lower. I mean, it was, so programs that still have the track record of player development and playing in the biggest games, we're going to see the majority of the kids go that route because they're investing in themselves to go to a place like that, start, and then achieve everything they set out to. And so that brings our show full circle, right? Julian Lewis committed to USC.
Yeah, let's wrap it up on Julian Lewis.
And if he starts, it's done. You won the Heisman, baby.
I mean, statistically speaking.
Right. And so
and he's going to get everything he wants. And you, when you sit here and you talk to some of these recruits, you start to figure out that, like, different things mean different things to different recruits. Like, L.A. might not be for David Sanders and some of these guys, but L.A. might be for JuJu Lewis, And it seems like these guys truly do have their best interests in mind, and it's not just NIL. And I think talking to recruits, one more thing that I learned from last year to this year, talking to recruits. Last year, every recruit that we sat down and we said, how much does NIL play in your recruitment? None. NIL, it doesn't play in. It doesn't. No, everyone denied it. This year, I get the sense we're not in as many denials, but it's more like I got the big picture in mind, meaning the NFL contracts, but in the meantime, I want my fair market value. And we know, and there is a precedent being set for fair market value, and a lot of these recruits said that. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean they need to be promised the moon, but they want to be ensured that they are making what a player in their slot should be making. And to me, that's fair, and that's where we're at right now. And you're not seeing as much denial that NIL just doesn't factor into recruitments. Thought that was an evolution in the NIL process.
People used to be nervous about you'd bring it up, and it'd be
in 2021 when it started. I mean, it was almost it still felt like we were committing violations by talking about it.
You're talking to people here, and you get. I got a good sense of who's where. But again, like, that's just part of the process for them, right? And again, they want to be Sunday players, and they want to hear their names called high.
Yeah. All right. We are going to continue on with the show. I'm going to air a couple interviews that I thought were awesome and valuable. I'm going to put in JuJu Lewis, Decorian Moore, maybe one other. I'm not sure. Do we want to put in another? Which one? Oh, yeah, we'll show you guys David Sanders. Loved interviewing these guys. Loved interviewing all these guys. Decorian Moore, Jaime Ffrench, Vernell Brown, Michael Terry. I had a blast talking to all these guys.
Probably staying in state. Florida looks interesting. Florida State battling. Michael Terry, he's like the DeSecchi's. He was the most interesting man.
He was by far.
Loved him.
A 6'3", 210-pound athlete that could play running back. I mean, he looks like a rush end. He's built like a rush end, but he's probably going to play either running back or wide receiver on the next level.
I interviewed Michael Terry. I said, what position do you want to play in college? He said running back. Said Oregon's recruiting him as a running back. They're a dark horse. I like Nebraska and A&M. I'm still riding with A&M right now, but Nebraska's rooting the hardest. Then you interviewed him.
5 minutes later.
5 minutes later, asked him what position you want to play in college. He said receiver. So, I mean, look.
So you wonder why sometimes we change our RPM picks? It's because they changed their mind. I mean, literally 5 minutes, he was a running back. 5 minutes later, he was a wide receiver. So we've had a blast. We're going to air these interviews. Thank you for hanging out with us on the rooftop at the W Hotel. I got my man Steve Wiltfong in town. We've been having a blast. Go check out these interviews. Welcome into the On 3 Elite Series. I am sitting here with a very special 5-star. We have a lot of 5-stars here, but only one named Julian Lewis. Welcome in, Julian. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Whew, I'm doing great now that you're here. We talk about you a lot on this channel, so it's a pleasure to actually have you on here and talk to you in person. So we got a big summer ahead. Indiana, Colorado, Auburn. Those are your official visits. You'll probably make it back to USC as well. Why do you want to take these visits now, and what ultimately are you trying to figure out with these trips?
I mean, shoot, I'm taking these visits just for the experience type of thing. Like, of course, there's a couple schools that I'm, like, really, like, interested in and all that stuff. But, I mean, I've been locked in with USC for a long time, and that's where I plan to go to college and stuff like that. So, really just trying to enjoy the experience and get to know what's going on.
Why USC? I mean, you did commit there before you reclassified. I mean, you had plenty of time, though, to make it out there, to get to know Lincoln Riley. Why did you ultimately choose USC?
Shoot, I mean, everybody's seen what Coach Riley's done with quarterbacks in the past and all that stuff. I mean, he's had however many Heisman trophies and all that stuff, and now they're in California. It's a big area, big brand, all that stuff. And Coach Riley's going to put me in the best position to be successful as a quarterback and stuff like that.
All right. Locked into USC. That's the team you're committed to.
Yep.
But there's other big brands after you, notably Colorado. What's it like to be recruited by Colorado?
Nah, I mean, Boulder's an interesting area. I mean, it's a great space, great fan base, all that stuff. And getting to sit down and spend time with Shador and Coach Prime and all those guys. I mean, there's a lot of great people out there. And, talk about brand right now. I mean, I don't think there's a bigger area than Colorado right now. But, it's a great space.
Do you get that sense just from, like, social media and stuff? When you're out at Colorado, when the buzz is going and you're talking Colorado, do you feel like it's a little bit more amplified than some of the other programs?
Yeah, no, it's definitely crazy right now. Like, I was just talking about it, and I was like, Colorado before last year, I mean, I would have never looked at them, smiled at them, none of that stuff. But, Coach Prime and them going there really, really boosted their whole situation. But
it's the Coach Prime effect. And what is it like being recruited by Deion Sanders?
No, it's definitely interesting. My dad knows a lot more about him than I do. I mean, I wasn't around when he was playing and stuff like that, and I heard he was pretty good. And I've seen a little bit of film about it. But, it's definitely big and all that stuff. But, like, building a relationship with his son and all that stuff has been a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm. We'll come back to Colorado, but I want to talk Auburn right now. And they were a program that maybe I thought was on the outside looking in when you reclassified. Yeah. But a trip to the Plains, another trip out to the Plains, another trip out to the Plains. Auburn really grew on you, this spring?
Yeah, no, Auburn's definitely a great spot. It's a lot closer than California and Colorado and stuff like that. But, yeah, now getting to talk to Coach Freeze and just getting to look at the overall team depth and receivers and all that stuff. I mean, their receiving core is probably top to none right now, but.
And then a lot of fans, I should say, were probably surprised when they saw that Indiana visit pop up on your official visit schedule. But you go way back with Tino Sinceri, the quarterback coach there. How did Tino get you in on an official visit to Indiana?
Shoot, I mean, I was the one who came down to it at the end of the day. But, the relationship with Coach Tino and, like, going down there for that first visit and stuff, like, I actually enjoyed the area more than I expected. And you can see that they're trying to come back up. I mean, Indiana hasn't been doing very much the past couple seasons, but a rebuild is always a big thing for me. I mean, nobody wants to come in and not be able to start their own thing. I mean, that's nothing I've been nervous of.
Sure. Alabama, are they involved?
I mean, shoot, Bama's Bama, but Coach Saban, all that stuff leaving. I mean, it definitely changed the aspect and the perspective of the whole situation. But I mean, they brought in some great guys. Washington, they threw the ball a lot, but I mean, not for real.
Yeah. I talked to you before we started rolling about kind of what are these visits leading up to. And I guess I was getting at, do you want to shut down your recruitment? Do you feel that it's important to be the bell cow of your class, like the team that you're committed to? Do you want to eventually be able to plant your flag and say, this is where I'm going and I want you guys to come with me and build a great class around you?
Yeah, no, that's definitely been my job. It's my job right now. I mean, even though I'm still taking visits and stuff, like I'm trying to build the best thing around me so I can go out there and win. And who doesn't want to be surrounded by great guys? And me being the quarterback, I mean, my job is to lead, and that's what I'm trying to do, is lead this class up.
So is that where these visits are leading to?
Yeah.
Are you going to at some point just announce, like, I'm shutting it down?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to shut it down. My plan is to shut it down before summer workouts and all that stuff. Or, like, not before summer workouts, but before the season, just so I can just focus on what needs to be done for my senior year.
Yeah. But then the colleges, they do play during the season. So how much do you weigh kind of what you're seeing on the field into where you want to go for your ultimate decision?
I mean, it changes a little bit. USC's kind of far, so I can't fly out there and watch every game after a Friday night and stuff like that. But I know if I get in that room with Coach Riley, I mean, I know what we can do, just me and him. So I'm not really too much worried about what they're doing in that moment. Of course, like watching the team develop and watch them grow and see what they do in the Big Ten for the first year and stuff like that. But I know what I can do with Coach Riley.
What's your relationship like with Coach Riley?
I mean,
is that a special one?
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. I mean, my dad and him get along very well. I mean, they probably talk more than I do, but yeah, no, he's just good people. He's seen it happen. He's had the best quarterbacks. He's had first overalls and Heisman and all that stuff, so he just understands the whole perspective.
So does he feel confident in your recruitment? Is he okay? Is he cool with you taking these trips and seeing what you're seeing?
Yeah, no, he is. I've talked to him about it and stuff like that, but we told him from the start that we're locked in. And, like, when I committed, I mean, I told him, I was like, this is where I want to go, and California is where I want to be at, even though it's 2,000 miles away or whatever.
Why do you like California so much?
I mean,
coming from Carrollton, Georgia.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a big change from a little old Carrollton. Love Carrollton, but yeah, no, LA's a big city. Great environment. Just the people you see around there are different. But, like, in terms of social growth and all that stuff, I don't think there's a better area to be in than LA.
Yeah. Well, Boulder right now, like we said, is kind of like is kind of popping right now, and you get some of those same feelings. Do you want to see Coach Prime recruit you to the end? Do you think that he might come in for an in-home visit? Could you see that happening?
I mean, it's a possibility. Like I said, like him and my dad get along very well and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I mean they could. There's no telling what he's gonna do. I mean, he could give up on me after a while and be like, all right, we got to get a guy.
I don't know. They got a pretty unique situation there. How do you feel about that situation at Colorado, knowing Shedeur is going to move on, knowing that Coach Prime is new there and they don't really have a next guy up in the program right now?
Yeah, no, that's definitely been a thing. Like, come in and play as a freshman would definitely be the best situation, just in terms of keeping my market and everything going on, and nobody wants to sit the bench and be bored and stuff like that. But I mean, one thing we look at is what are they, Pac-12? They're in the Pac-12 and
Big 12.
Big 12. I mean, the competition level versus going to the Big 10 and playing at USC and stuff like that. Like, me and my dad were talking about it, and we were like, it's kind of hard to kind of opt myself out of SEC and Big 10 and stuff like that, because that's kind of what I've been working for since I was little.
Yeah, and talk about that, the pressure of growing up in Carrollton, Georgia. SEC, you hear about it a lot. Do you get a sense that, like, the people in your neighborhood, your friends and family, do they want to see you stay and play in the SEC?
I mean, yeah, definitely. Like, I've heard a lot of different things. I've heard Auburn, Alabama, Georgia. I've heard a lot of different things from that little spot. But I mean, you definitely don't see any USC logos or anything in the back of a Carrollton car.
That's true.
But no, at the end of the day, it comes down to what I need to do for me, and that's me and my dad's plan for us.
Yeah, and you're going to take these visits and you're going to figure it out. And, hey, you guys at home, you're the recruiting experts. Where do we think Julian Lewis is going to end up? Is he going to sign with USC, or will it be somewhere else? Let us know. Comment section below.
Yeah.
Well, you've made it to the end of today's video, but there's hundreds more videos on the On3 Recruits channel for you to check out. And also, while you're here, hit subscribe. We're here at the On3 NIL Elite Series, and I've got the #1 wide receiver, not just in the country, but the entire world, Decorian Moore from Duncanville High School, 5-star wide receiver. Decorian, let's just get right into it. Why'd you decommit from LSU?
Whoa. Dang. I'd say because after taking my visits, of course, to all 3 of my schools, I've seen different opportunities at other schools, and I'm just willing and open to all 3 of them other schools.
Yeah, and you committed early. There was obviously things that you liked about LSU. So why did you commit to LSU in the first place?
I've built a great relationship with the coaching staff and some of the players that were also committing there too. Obviously Caden Durham was my running back. We had a great relationship, and it's still the same. We were always talking about going to the same school and stuff like that. So me committing, it was just like a feeling. I felt like that's where I needed to be, and I made it happen. Was
it hard to tell them that you weren't going to be committed anymore?
Obviously, I had a nerve in the back of my head, but I mean, ultimately, I got over it.
Yeah. And so did they. All right. So coming up next, we're going to go official visits. We're going to talk official visits. Ohio State is this weekend. Now, there's a lot of buzz about Ohio State even before you decommitted from LSU. Now it seems like, that buzz is around Texas, but Ohio State gets their shot at you this weekend. What are you looking to see when you get to Columbus?
Just seeing what they have to show me. I feel like they've showed me a lot since the last 2 visits that I've been there. I got to see the culture, how big the city is. I seen practice. I seen how the team revolves around each other. I seen how the coaches act. I built a relationship with the coaching staff, and I've sat in the receiver meetings and stuff like that. So I think I've seen enough, but I'm just willing to see what they got to show me.
All right, where do you go after Ohio State?
After Ohio State will be LSU.
LSU after Ohio State. You're gonna go back to LSU?
I'm not done with this recruitment.
Okay. What do you need to see from the Tigers?
I feel like I need to see a lot actually. They've showed me, obviously practice and a lot of football stuff, but I want to see things outside of that. How they develop their players outside of football. How they set them up for success after football, student academics, just a lot of everything.
Get on the ground and just check it all out for an official visit. All right, so you are going to go to LSU, and then will be Texas up next?
Yep.
All right, the in-state Longhorns. I mean, that's the team right now. I know it's just the recruiting prediction machine, but that's where you're trending right now. So what is it about the Horns, and why do people think that that's where you're going to end up?
I very much want to say because of my family. Most definitely because of my family. All of my family stay down there, and I don't know what they have been saying. I don't know who's been asking questions to my uncles, my brothers, my sisters.
But they're leaking information to the insiders, huh?
I don't know what's going on. I don't remember saying anything about Texas.
But family might be leaking some information, huh?
Hey, there's a mole out there.
There's a mole. You got it. All right, so then now Oregon. Oregon's another big school. They've been involved with you. You got some relationship ties with them. Is that going to be the last visit you take in June?
It is.
And what do you want to see at Oregon?
Same thing I said about Ohio State. I feel like they've showed me a lot as well. I've built a tremendous relationship with them. I feel like I can trust the coaches there. I'm just really looking forward to see how the official visit go. That's really it.
I've been talking a lot with the guys that have been sitting next to me about recruiting, but specifically peer-to-peer recruiting. So it seems like that's almost more effective than the coaches recruiting you. What players are recruiting you? What players are not recruiting you might be an easier way to ask that question.
I'm gonna start off with Ohio State. The one man, oh my Jesus, Devin Sanchez. God,
he's out of Texas.
You would think that Tavian recruited me because he's gonna be the quarterback, but no, it's Devin. he texts me every chance he gets, showing me what Ohio State can do, telling me one-on-one's gonna be hectic. We gonna get better. We gonna both make it to the league. I'm like, Jesus. Ever since I decommitted from LSU, Bryce been trying to see what was up with me.
Yeah, I bet.
Since Caden got down there to LSU.
It was probably harder to tell Bryce you weren't going to LSU than it was to tell the coaches you
Most
weren't
definitely. Yeah,
But he's still on you?
He's still on me. But ever since Caden got down to LSU, he's been telling me I need to come back down there. I need to be with him when I come on my official visit, all that. So it's a number of players recruiting me, and not just from my class.
Do you ever hear, I was going to say, do you ever hear from Colin Simmons? Because he's at Texas now.
That's every other day.
Really?
Yes. Because he comes back because it's just down the street. That's like.
So who's the best recruiter?
The bet? I'm not answering
Who
that
does
question.
of the recruits? Not the coaches. Who sells their program the best?
Colin.
Colin does.
Because he's been there. He's been there for like half a year already, so he knows more.
Yeah, and hey, how important is it that you pair yourself with a quarterback?
That's probably, I'm not gonna say most of my decision, but it definitely plays a big factor. Knowing that I have a good quarterback coming in with me that I'm gonna leave with, that I'm most definite to play with, and not just 1 year without the quarterback that that's already there.
Right.
Yeah.
So you do keep tabs on that. And what about your quarterback right now at Duncanville? Because he's kind of going through his recruitment.
Right.
Is there ever going to be a chance that you two could link up on the next level? Keelon Russell. Keelon Russell is who I'm talking about.
We do have one of the same offers. Is it two? Do we have Texas offer?
Not yet, but that one could be coming soon for him.
If that happens,
they're recruiting
then
him, but I don't think they've
two.
officially offered him just
But,
yet.
I mean, I love my quarterback. You know,
Yeah.
we obviously built that tremendous relationship, put the world on notice that we got that dynamic duo. But what y'all don't know is we didn't have that duo since middle school. So we've talked about, continuing that through college.
Okay. So that could happen at a couple places. Not everywhere, but there are a couple places where that could work out.
Yeah.
But he is committed to SMU right now, so it's not,
Yeah, I can't,
Yeah.
snatch him, but I can provoke him.
All right, so we'll see what happens there. Do you talk to other wide receivers too? Because you kind of made wide receiving recruiting pop back off heading into the summer, because now the top three really the top four, I think, are all uncommitted, but specifically Khalil Lockett and Jaime Ffrench. Do you guys ever talk about maybe linking up on the same level?
Definitely. Me, Khalil, and Jaime have all talked about, the same schools. Obviously, Texas, we've been there numerous times. Ohio State and LSU.
And LSU as well,
We all have, that little top three. So we've talked about the benefits, advantages, and disadvantages, and ultimately we're going to see where it ends up.
Or would you rather be the wide receiver that competes against those guys?
I don't have no problem with
Right?
that either. It's all friendly competition. We all gonna make plays at the end of the day. We all just want to see each other ball.
Yeah. So you kind of cut down your list, right? You said I'm decommitting, but don't contact me unless you're in my top group. That's kind of what you said. It's kind of like going in the transfer portal with a do not contact list. Like you were basically saying, hey, thanks, but no thanks. I'm good with these schools.
I was just letting it be known before my phone blew up, because I didn't too much want to be on do not disturb. Honestly,
Yeah.
I wanted my phone to be normal, because I have people to text, and I don't be seeing their notifications either.
Is there a team or two out there that could creep into this recruitment?
I don't think so.
No.
No.
You're set. You feel good. So ultimately, what's your game plan? Like, do you want to make these official visits and then decide? Do you want to take these official visits, wait till the fall, see how the teams play, and then decide? What's your timeline?
Obviously, I'm taking official visits. I would say end of July, maybe beginning of August. That's where my mindset at.
And then that's it? Or
That's when it's gonna get shut down and the world gonna explode.
no more decommits? Were you surprised that you decommitted? Like, did you think like heading into the summer that you'd be an LSU commitment?
I would say I was surprised that I was feeling the urge to decommit, because since I was little, that was my dream school. That was the school I always wanted to be at.
Yeah, you did. You did say that's your dream school. So if it's your dream school, then.
But I didn't know everything that I know now. So, after seeing a lot of what I've seen, I just felt like it was the right move going forward.
All right, and you're about to see some more. You're going to go see some more schools, and then Decorian Moore could be ready for a decision. We got a lot of recruiting experts, not only that work for On3,
right,
but in the comment section of our video. And let's ask them, where do you guys think Decorian Moore is going to land? Let us know, comment section below. Welcome back to the On3 Elite Series. David Sanders here. We're in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to Nashville, man. How you feeling?
It feels great. This is my first time in Nashville, so I'm excited.
Yeah, you've been to like every other city in
Right,
America
yes,
this spring except for Nashville. So how crazy has it been for you this spring? It seems like every weekend you're in a new spot.
Yeah, that's how it's been. It's been amazing, though, the journey from 8th grade to now. It's been amazing. Each week we're somewhere different, but it's been a blessing for me and my family just to get to travel the world, meet different people. You got to talk to Coach Saban, Coach Smart. The legendary coaches in the game. So it's a pretty cool experience for me. But it's almost over, but I've been enjoying every moment.
It is almost over. You're kind of down to the final stretch. You got some official visits, and we're going to talk about it in June, but you've already taken a couple official visits.
Yes,
you went
sir.
to South Carolina and Nebraska. What did those trips show you?
South Carolina was amazing. I have been to South Carolina multiple times. As a lot of people know, that's the closest one to where I live at. So getting to camp at South Carolina when I was a younger kid, getting to see all the games, spring games. So it was a pretty cool experience, this official visit. Their main message was like, just come and be legendary at South Carolina. They have two big bookend tackles that came in last year, in Josiah and Cam.
Yeah.
So those two are one of my two good friends from the recruiting process as a whole. So South Carolina's in a good spot for sure.
Yeah. What about Nebraska?
Nebraska was pretty unique.
That
honestly.
trip seemed crazy.
Yeah, it was very crazy. Nebraska hadn't been recruiting me at all, really, until Dylan committed there. So that's the first time I really heard from them. And obviously, I had that relationship with him when he was committed to Georgia. So it was pretty easy from when he hit me up, like, just come give us a shot and see what we're about. And they didn't disappoint.
So
really.
It worked.
Oh yeah, it did. They did a good job. Their facilities are really good. Coach Rule is very down to earth. But yeah, I think it's a little different because they're late in my recruitment. But I think they did a great job just getting me out to see everything and getting to see what they have to offer.
Yeah, and I've been covering recruiting for almost 20 years, and one of my rules, or one of the things that I use to figure out where a recruit is going, is I usually say follow the visits.
Right.
I've been trying to follow your visits, and I'm exhausted.
Me and you are in the same boat.
Do you feel like I want to be done with? Like, are you looking forward to taking these official visits to get yourself off the road?
I'm very excited to take the official visits just to see what they're going to do, because we've been there so many times, and it's kind of like there's nothing else to talk about. Because we've been to all the meetings, we've done all the film breakdowns and everything like that. So I think the official visit is really going to be more about that personal connection and just feeling the coaches out and see if that's somebody you can surround yourself around for the next couple of years. But I think it's pretty cool going every week and seeing different game environments, practice environments. Like, every school does everything a little bit different. So I think it's been pretty cool.
Okay, and you're going to take one right out of here, right?
Yeah, as soon as we're done with this, I'll be at Clemson for my third official.
Yeah, third official, but 1st of June,
Yes,
first
sir.
of this
First
of this run. And the Clemson official seems really important to me, because I know they don't mess around. Like, they do one weekend. A lot of those guys end up committing that weekend, and that's the end of their recruitment. Obviously, you got more to come after that. But how big is this Clemson official visit for you?
It's very big. I would say Clemson's been in a great spot since I've been recruited. Like, everybody knows Clemson was my favorite school growing up. So I think they didn't really have to do much to really say, oh, Clemson's a great school. I already knew Clemson was a great school. So I think just getting me to see that this is the place for me to be for the next 3 to 4 years, and that I can develop and become that first-round draft pick in 2028, 2029, whatever that is. So I think they've done a great job. Coach Luke has done a phenomenal job ever since he's got hired, just building that relationship with me and letting me know that I'm a priority for the Clemson Tigers.
So after that, what visits are you really looking forward to?
Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. Those would be, I think everybody right now is just so even. like everybody's done such a great job with recruiting me thus far. It's hard to say this school doesn't have a chance. Like everybody has a chance to land me. It's just how we're gonna feel after June into July, and then when it's time to make that decision in August.
Yeah, a lot of great recruiters involved now.
Yeah,
they
for
know
sure.
how to sell a program.
Oh, no doubt.
But does anybody sell a program better than George McIntyre?
No, I would say he's probably been him and Tavion Sinclair, the quarterback that's committed to Ohio State. Those two guys have been on me more than some of the coaches have, to be honest. Like they do a good job. Just saying, like building that relationship. Me and George had a relationship before he committed to Tennessee, so it was pretty easy for him to switch it over to come to Tennessee, come block for me, because we used to play the game and stuff together all the time. So it was pretty cool when he committed. Just being proud of him like, as a friend. And Tavion, I met him more recently when I went to that Ohio State visit over the spring. But he's been very down to earth and just getting to know me and me getting to know him. So I look forward to building that relationship with him. But yeah, him and George do a phenomenal job.
Can that peer-to-peer recruiting be just as effective as hearing it from a coach?
I feel like that's more important than sometimes the coaches are saying, because these are the guys you're going to be in the locker room with every day. And then like these are guys you're going to be surrounded with on game day visits throughout the day. Like during the spring when y'all don't have practice, George is going to be one of the guys I'm hanging out with. So I feel comfortable with him being one of my friends, and do I trust him and things like that. So I feel like, and as your quarterback, that's what I'm going to be blocking for. Like, do I want to block for this guy? Does he seem like a good guy I would want to do that for? So I would say the peer-to-peer recruiting is sometimes bigger than what the coaches have to say.
So the fans have been following your recruitment. So when can they expect to hear a decision from you?
I would say after the officials for sure. Unless somebody just blows me out of the water in June, I feel like I'm going to take that, because I don't want it to be an emotional decision right after an official visit and make that decision. I want to take my time throughout July, really talk to my family and see what we all just piggyback off of each other, the pros and cons off of each school, all of July, and really make that decision early August, because I want it to be done. Early August, because I want it to be done before my senior year starts and before the football season starts for college football.
All right. Well, there you have it. Early August, the #1 offensive tackle in America. He's going to come off the board. Now we want to hear from you, the real recruiting experts. They're in the comment section.
Okay.
Let us know where you think David Sanders is going to go to college. Comment section below. Well, you've made it to the end of today's video, but there's hundreds more videos on the On3 Recruits channel for you to check out. And also, while you're here, hit subscribe.